While I was reading The Tombs of Atuan, I began to think that my feminist view on the world was influencing my interpretation of the story because there's so much in it that I think parallels particularly women's experience in growing up and going from being a young girl to a young woman and even an older woman and having to learn to navigate society's expectations of you and also what you expect from yourself and the type of person that you want to be. And I think that that message can also apply to young men. I just think that they get more stories that deal with that than women do, where it's a female main character dealing with those issues. So that's part of the reason that I think that this story is particularly important for young adult women. In my copy of The Tombs of Atuan, there's an afterword by Ursula K. Guin where she basically confirmed all of my feminist interpretations of this book, so it was nice to know that I wasn't completely off base. And Ursula K. Guin herself is an outspoken feminist. A lot of her interviews and nonfiction essays have to do with how she approaches writing science fiction and fantasy in a way that it's inclusive of women and also minorities. So I knew that I couldn't have been that far off base, but I really thought I was reading a lot into this story, and it ended up not being the case. It ended up being almost entirely intentional on her part. I can't help myself, but I have to read a couple of paragraphs from Ursula K. Le Guin's afterwards. So this is the nonfiction part of this book. Some people have read the story as supporting the idea that a woman needs a man in order to do anything at all. Some nodded approvingly, others growled and hissed. Certainly Arha/Tenar would better satisfy feminist ideals if she did everything all by herself. But the truth as I saw it, and as I established it in the novel, was that she couldn't. My imagination wouldn't provide a scenario where she could, because my heart told me incontrovertibly that neither gender could go far without the other. So, in my story, neither the woman nor the man can get free without the other. Not in that trap. Each has to ask for the other's help and learn to trust and depend on the other. A large lesson, a new knowledge for both these strong, willful, lonely souls. Rereading the book more than 40 years after I wrote it, I wonder about many of its elements. It was the first book I wrote with a woman as the true central character. Tenar's character and the events of the story came from deep within me, so deep that the subterranean and labyrinthian imagery and a certain volcanic quality are hardly to be wondered at. But the darkness, the cruelty, the vengefulness, after all, I could have just let them go free. Why did I destroy the whole place of the tombs with an earthquake? It's a kind of huge suicide, the nameless ones annihilating their temple in a vast spasm of rage. Maybe it was the whole primitive, hateful idea of the feminine as dark, blind, weak, and evil that I saw shaking itself to pieces, imploding, crumbling into wreckage on desert ground. And I rejoiced to see it fall. I still do. It's so good, you guys. I can't handle it. You have to read this book. So one of the things I love about Ursula K. Le Guin and I respect about her as a writer is that she is able to convey complex ideas with the complexity that they deserve. So in this book, she doesn't simplify anything just because it's YA and people have certain assumptions about what a YA audience can understand, or because it's a fantasy book, or even because it's only this thin or this thick. So I really appreciate that, because once Tenar and Ged escape the tombs, that's not the end of the story. There's a whole other part of the book where, Tenar has to struggle with being out in the world for the first time in her recollection and what that means. And now she made one choice that opens up the door. She has to make every choice now for herself. There's just this beautiful paragraph where I think Ursula K. Le Guin sums that up nicely, so I'm going to read that to you now. What she had begun to learn was the weight of liberty. Freedom is a heavy load, a great and strange burden for the spirit to undertake. It is not easy. It is not a gift given, but a choice made, and the choice may be a hard one. The road goes upward toward the light, but the laden traveler may never reach the end of it. So, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes that's how I feel about my life, so I just thought that was a very succinct way to put it.